Luke Duncan here for Bass UTV, and today I am sitting on one of my favorite types of bank, and that is a riprap bank. Now, riprap rock is a little different than chunk rock, which is, a natural rock. This is actually a man-made rock that is placed on a riverbank or in a pocket, or you see it around marinas a lot, to keep those banks from eroding, from washing away. But when it is placed, it goes down into the water further than you can see. So what's that gonna do for you? Well, you see it around bridges a lot, these main river banks in marinas. Well, it's gonna collect heat on cold days. So in your pre-spawn scenarios, fall scenarios, that heat is gonna draw those bait fish in, draw the bass in. It also is gonna give a lot of places for crawfish to hide in those little nooks and crannies. You see a lot of bluegill, brim hanging around that, pecking around in the algae. You'll see a lot of life around riprap banks. I approach riprap very simply for the most part. I have kind of a two crankbait approach that I take to riprap banks most of the time. And I always typically start with a 6 cents C6. And so this thing is gonna run in that 6 to 8 foot range at its max on 12-pound fluorocarbon, throwing it on a 7-foot cranking rod, a good parabolic rod, 6:3-to-1 gear ratio reel. And I'm gonna put my boat right against that riprap, and I'm gonna parallel crank it, crank it at a 45. But what I'm looking for is any irregularity in this riprap, because when you just look at it, it's like looking down a grass line. It's like looking into your backyard. It all looks the same, right? All looks the same, but it's not. There'll be little fingers that stick out from where they, when they were placing this rock in, they may have put too much in one spot versus, another 20 yards down. That may break the current up a little different in an area. There may be a log washed against it that you're gonna find with your crankbait. But any irregularity in this stuff, and this stuff can run for miles down a riverbank. The bank we're on right now, it does. It runs for over a mile. But there are certain subtleties, little shallower spots where it may, you may have a little gravel mixed in with the riprap, where it gets flat and then it drops off again. Any little turn that the bank may make, follow those natural contours of that bank within that riprap, and I promise you, you'll catch more fish. But I'll always start, this is one of my favorite little search baits, this C6. I like this when the water is above, say, 55, okay? This crankbait's actually made of plastic, so it's gonna float up a little bit more. It's gonna be a little more buoyant, and it actually has a rattle in it. When the water is colder than that, I'm gonna crank a Shad Rap a lot. I'm gonna go to a DT6, a balsa bait, something I can wind a little slower when it's colder than 55. That's typically what I do. But I'm gonna start right on that riprap, okay? With my shallower diving crankbaits. Now, once I've fished that, and maybe I've eliminated that or I've caught them, there's always gonna be a drop off close to these riprap banks, okay? So you'll have like a secondary little ledge, so to speak. And I will always step up to a 6 cent C10 in that situation. A little bit deeper diving plug. It's gonna run 10 feet deep on 12-pound line. And in that case, I'm gonna make a cast, maybe not right on the rocks, because this C10 is gonna dig that riprap up a little bit more than that C6. So I'm gonna angle my cast a little bit further off, and I'm gonna check out that 8 to 10 foot depth range with this crankbait that's out there in between me and that riprap and the boat. But I'm still gonna be paralleling. So you don't always have to throw right at the bank on these riprap banks or bridge causeways or marina banks that are stacked with riprap to catch fish, okay? So same thing. I'm looking for irregularities, and if you see a little turn in that bank, you see a little point, it may run out there further than what meets the eye. So that C10 is gonna get out there, maybe find a fish that's hanging out there a little deeper.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass UTV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass UTV.
You get the top instructors.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
And that's why you want to check out Bass UTV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass UTV.